have a special treat. Linda's with me here today for Tuesday Tips. So you get both advocates, Pam and Linda. So today we're going to talk about a topic that doesn't come up too often. And so we wanted to try and explain what this process is all about. So we're going to talk about guardianship, on this week's Tuesday Tips. So I want to say thank you for those that are going to stop by and join us live. And also thank you to those that are going to catch the replay on our YouTube channel. And so we are live here in the Facebook page. And if you ever want to know what videos are coming up, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's where you can get all the latest updates on the new videos that we're releasing. So let's go ahead and jump in. So let's start with the basics. Guardianship is a legal process where a court appoints someone to make decisions for an adult who can no longer make those decisions for themselves. And usually because of either cognitive decline, illness, or injury. This can cover healthcare, finances, living arrangements, and more. And it's a really big step, and it's important to understand when it might be necessary and what it may involve. So when do families need to consider guardianship? Here's a few situations.
So if your loved one can't make safe decisions about their care, possibly due to a diagnosis like dementia or having a stroke or other health issues, and if there's no healthcare power of attorney or an advance directive in place, if there's no family or friends available or willing to act as a healthcare agent or help in any way, and sometimes families just can't agree on the best course of action, which leaves everyone stuck and kind of wondering what needs to happen next.
So, Linda and I have both seen this, in our different nursing, we've seen it in home health, we've seen it in the hospitals, and we've seen this happen when an aging parent has never named a decision maker and suddenly the family's in crisis. So let's share, this is a real life example that I had when I was in the hospital, and we were working with a family whose mother had a stroke. She couldn't communicate her wishes. She didn't have a healthcare power of attorney. She had 3, adult children. They all had different ideas about what the care she should receive. They had differing opinions on whether or not she should be a DNR, and they just couldn't agree, and they were causing stress in the hospital. The doctors didn't know what to do because no one was able to make any decisions, and they tried to involve the families, but this clearly was an instance where they were not able to make a decision on the best choice of or best options for care. So the social worker had to turn for a legal decision. Ultimately, the only opinion or the option was to request a guardianship hearing with the court. And then the court was going to appoint someone to make decisions on their behalf. This was very emotional, but it protected the rights and ensured that their aging loved one got the care that they needed. So let's go ahead and talk about the pros and the cons.
So some of the pros would be that guardianship gives someone clear, and I mean clear, legal authority to make decisions, which can reduce family conflict. It protects people from vulnerable adults from harm or exploitation. And it also ensures someone is responsible and accountable for that person's well-being. Some of the cons would be the process can be lengthy and it can be very, very expensive and stressful. The older adult loses the right to make some or all personal decisions, and court oversight is ongoing, and sometimes a professional guardian is appointed if no family is available, because there is no guarantee that a family member would be chosen as guardian.
So it's really not a decision to take lightly. Here's a quick overview of how guardianship works. Someone, a family, friend, or even a healthcare provider, files a petition with the court. The court usually requires a medical evaluation. Now, here's where it differs a lot with states. Now, in some states, we were working with a guardian who's on the East Coast, and there they actually had the court ordered a formal evaluation. And like in our state, if 2 doctors or 2 providers, depending on the wording, deem that person is incompetent, that's all that's needed to determine if they can, whether they're cognitively aware enough to make their own healthcare decisions. So it's really important that you have to make sure you know the state regulations. So family members are notified, and then there's a hearing. So there's actually a court hearing. and the judge decides if guardianship is needed and then who should serve, whether it's a family member that gets appointed a guardian, like Linda said, or whether they go to a corporate guardian. And then if granted, the guardian reports back to the court on a regular basis. So remember, anyone concerned about the person's welfare can start the process, not just the family. So, talking a little bit about the difference in the states.
Yeah, it's important to know that every state has different rules for guardianship. The forms, the requirements, and the definitions of incapacity can vary a lot from state to state. So always check your state's laws or talk to a professional before moving forward, especially if you're currently living in one state and possibly be moving that loved one to another state. So if you think guardianship might be needed, here's what you need to do. Gather all medical and legal documents, talk to an elder law attorney or patient advocate, such as ourselves, and contact your local court for instructions.
One of the questions that comes up is who pays for guardianship? And that's a really great question. Typically, the guardian's salary or fees are paid from the assets or income for the person who's under guardianship, and that becomes the ward. And here's how it most likely will work. So with private guardianship, if a family member or friend is appointed and requests compensation, the court may allow reasonable fees to be paid from the ward's funds. So that might be your aging loved one's estate. So many family guardians choose to serve without pay, but reimbursement for expenses is common. And then you have professional or public guardians. So if a professional guardian, attorney, or public agency is appointed, their fees are almost always paid from the ward's estate or income. These fees, they must be approved by the court, so you just can't pull a random number out of the air. And they're based on the complexity of the decisions that need to be made and the time required for the case. So indigent wards, or maybe those aging adults or aging loved ones that don't have any money, if they are under guardianship with little or no assets, some states have a public guardianship program that's funded by the state or the county, but resources may be limited and not available everywhere. So, let's talk about the bottom line.
So the person receiving guardianship, such as the aging adult, is generally responsible for the guardian's fees, not the family or the state, unless the ward is indigent or qualifies for a public program. So consider contacting an estate planning or elder care attorney for experts on your state's requirements and to assist you with this process, because it can get lengthy and expensive. If you want to learn more, we have resources on our website, including checklists, guides, and upcoming webinars like 10 Steps You Must Know to Care for an Aging Loved One. And we also have, you can check out the National Center on Elder Abuse, the American Bar Association, and your county's Department on Aging for more information.
And Linda, too, we try and bring this up, as often as possible. And so, and Linda, why don't you just tell us a little bit about the Aging and Disability Resource? I know that's what they call it in Wisconsin, but a lot of people don't understand the resources that are available to them.
So the resources that are available are usually through the county, and it's called the Aging and Disability Resource Center here in Wisconsin. It can be called the Aging Center for Elder Adults. It can be called the Senior Center, and every county has one. Every state has them. And basically it is income driven. You go there and you need to bring with you different financial requirements. When you call there, when you find out where they're located and you call there, they'll tell you what you need to bring. And a lot of times you'll need to bring bank statements and any mortgage payments or any types of bills or things that you're looking for. And they could provide people there that are experts in certain arenas. So you can possibly be eligible for energy assistance for gas and electric, rental assistance for providing a ramp in your home or special equipment in your home, for having someone come into your home to provide care on and off during the day, maybe through a family member or someone through the county. But it all is income based. So you need to utilize that as your first resource for this, because if you qualify, there are several programs, of course, that are state or county approved, with funding that you can utilize and have access to based on the income threshold that you're in. So again, it's the first area of resource that Pam and I both tell people to check out to see what you qualify for, because it's really important that you know what resources there are for you out there.
And, that's a great point because, as a guardian, whether it's a public guardian or a family guardian, I mean, you are fiscally responsible. If you're looking at resources or healthcare equipment that needs to be brought in, I mean, you need to know your resources so that you can be financially, fiscally sound and know what's available so that you're not spending your aging loved one's resources without being able to get the biggest bang for your buck, so to speak. So, and that's something else that Linda and I can help you with as nurse advocates, is just looking at, if there are healthcare planning needs that you're not sure how to put the plan together or what resources you need, what services you need, this is something also that we can help you with. And, guardianship is a big decision. I mean, if there's a public guardian route, I mean, that means that there's a stranger that's going to be, making decisions. But there are people out there that don't have friends or don't have family. So they need somebody to look out for their best interests, especially if they can't make their own healthcare decisions. So, there is certainly a need for guardianship. So we just want to say thanks for stopping by. If you have any questions or anything, you can drop that in the comments. We'll check later and we'll get them answered for you. And again, if you'd like to look at the replay, that'll be available on our Tuesday or on our YouTube channel. So thanks for joining Tuesday Tips Live. And don't forget to like, share, or follow for more tips on caring for your aging loved ones. And we'll see you back here next week for another Tuesday Tips. Take care, and we'll see you soon.